Hey, everybody. Welcome into the Friday Five. Chip Walters here from Exit Realty Bob Lamb and Associates. Glad to have you with us. And today we're going to be talking about high school football. It's been a big topic, throughout the fall. And this week, the TSSAA and its Board of Control made a good bit of news about the plan that they have coming up. And Matt Gillespie, who is an Assistant Executive Director with TSSAA, joins me, and Matt, it is nobody can really explain the times that we're going through right now, but they're just as odd for you as they are for me and for everybody else, and you guys have had to go through just different ways of putting plans together.
Yeah, it's just like you said. I mean, it's been odd for us, and it's a daily challenge. It really is. And it goes back for us back to the state basketball tournaments when that whole wave hit and NCAA cancels March Madness, and we were in the middle of our girls tournament and we had to cancel that. And we thought this is just unprecedented and unreal. And we had no idea what was going to be coming after that, of course, and getting to spring sports. And unfortunately we, had to cancel those, and you had so many seniors that were disappointed. And now we're getting into fall sports for this upcoming year, and we're still dealing with this. So we're trying to approach it and do the best we can to get the kids on the field, but also do so in a safe manner, not only for them, but the coaches, the fans in attendance. And we don't know if we can get there or not. Now, there's a lot of things that kind of have to come together for that to happen, but we're really working to make that happen.
One thing I think that the TSSAA has done, they have come up with a plan that seems to have more flexibility than other states that I've seen. Our neighboring states have either said we're either waiting 2 weeks or we're going to start on this date or this. But the plan that TSSAA has some flexibility in it depending on what happens week by week.
Yeah, it does. And we did look at what other states have done. We had numerous proposals in front of our board that were similar to that. And with every proposal, they're not all perfect by any means. And after throwing those out there and getting feedback, kind of as a staff, we put this together kind of last second. I really give credit to Bradley Lambert, Richard McWhorter, and Bernard with our office and putting this together to where it does have that flexibility. So it's almost on a sliding scale, depending on when we get the go-ahead from the governor's office to either be exempt from our state of emergency order or the order expires, or worst case scenario, the order is extended. The plan's in place to address it immediately when we hear that word. So everybody knows that whether it's August 20th or September 3rd, whatever it is, we know that, boom, we've got the green light. They know exactly when they can start practicing, exactly when their season will start and how it's affected.
Well, and again, that's something that we're still going to be waiting on. What we do know are other parts of the plan that the Board of Control adopted that takes into account, people in attendance, fans, the procedures and protocols that are going to happen there. So kind of give folks the bullet points on that.
Sure. A lot of it's stuff that I think people would be somewhat familiar with. And you go into so many places and you see the checklist of, have you had a fever in the last so many days? Do you have a cough? Do you have, and there's a checklist of about 7 symptoms that every student athlete has to do before they go into practice, before they go into competition. Every single fan, every athlete, every coach will be required to do a temperature check before entering the facility. Every fan will be required to wear a mask, whether it's a football game, a volleyball match, a golf match outside. You think, well, we can social distance. That requirement's still going to be there. We'd rather be on the safe end and as far as trying to keep this from transmitting. So those are kind of the key points to it, but certainly there's a lot more to it. There are 12 regulations. Fans can see that on our website at TSSAA.org. We've got a return to play section, and it's kind of got everything you need to know about it, all those regulations and how they affect every single sport.
Yep. And when you talk about football games, which is the most visible of all of those, that it includes so many student athletes, whether it's the football players, managers, trainers, and then you get into cheerleaders, band, support groups. and are we gonna see bands and cheerleaders at football games this year?
Going to see cheerleaders, probably going to see bands, but not in the same way you're used to seeing them. We have discouraged the use of a band like you normally see it. They're sitting up in the student section. They're all cramped together and playing. I think it's okay, at least as far as when you look at our regulations, to have bands, but let's have them there for a halftime performance only. If they are going to play during the game, have them spread out, have them in the end zone. Don't have them up in the stands sitting next to each other. Cheerleaders are going to be fine. I think when you look on the sidelines of football, most of the time they're a little spread out anyway.
Right.
So we just want to make sure they keep that 6 foot of physical distancing when they're doing their stuff on the sideline, but they'll still have to go through the same checks everybody else will on entering the facility. So won't see much of a difference with cheerleaders, maybe a little more on the band end.
Yep. As we move toward this, what about soccer and volleyball? Is it just going to be, people, and are we putting amounts like the volleyball in particular plays in a gym? We're going to limit the number of people that can be in there, those kind of things. Also, football stadiums.
Sure. Yeah. What we've done is, and we've not made it a mandate, but a strong recommendation. Whatever your facility holds, keep it to about a quarter to a third of its capacity in order to maintain the social distance. Have at least 2 seats between everybody unless they're within the same household. So that's going to apply. Like you said, I mean, everybody sees football on the horizon, and that's the big one. It's going to apply in the volleyball gym, at the soccer stadium. Those are, depends on where you are with soccer. It's a little different. You can see the fold-out chairs up and down the sidelines. Obviously, that's easy to social distance there. Some of them have bleachers. So schools are going to need to adjust. And I think a lot of them, looking back, so many of them have done graduations now at their football stadiums that they did plan for the physical distancing there. So I think some of them have plans in place. If not, they're going to get them in place pretty quick.
Everybody who is a fan of high school athletics, they, have wanted to see this come back. And we were all stunned and with what, in the spring when the decisions had to be made. And I've told people that, that I know and have talked about it, and is that Bernard Childress and Joe Dubin and I talked about it last week on this, that Bernard Childress is a huge fan of the student athletes, and it absolutely killed him to have to make those decisions. But every decision that's been made along the way, by whether it's by him or the board of control, and then comes back to him and you guys to carry out, have been with the best interest of the high school student athletes in place.
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly. Certainly us as a staff, not only for what we do as a job and for a living. I mean, we care for these student athletes. So many of us have kids. My son plays high school athletics, grandchildren, depending on who it is with staff. Everybody's got a personal connection as well to some extent. And you want to see them on the field. You want them competing because you know what it means to them to be a part of something, to get that physical activity. It's also good for their mental health as well. Everybody wants to do everything they can to get them on the field and on the court. But also you got to keep in mind the safety of not only them, but everybody involved, everybody they come in contact with. And we're all learning so much as this goes along. But, yeah, the board members, I mean, they're all administrators and member schools. They want to see nothing more than the kids within their buildings get out there and do it. But they're charged with being elected to represent the schools in their area to make the best decisions they can for the 400-plus member schools we got across the state.
Is there any chance that we could see, let's say we get to September, and whether we've already had a couple of weeks of football by that point or we're getting ready to start football at that point? Tennessee is a long, wide state. Could we see different things in different parts of the state at that point?
Yeah, I think anything could really happen. We've all learned that there's, if it hadn't happened, it probably will happen with this virus and everything. But I think that's kind of the big unforeseen question. I was talking to a sports writer the other night, and he said, everybody's glad to see all this going forward, and hopefully we'll get the green light. He said, but nobody's thinking about what's going to happen in week 2 or week 3 when this team gets 5 cases or this team gets 1 case and it affects them. It's their starting quarterback. You could have it. We all see how it spread so quickly. How is that going to affect these schools and the schedules? And that's, we're talking football there, but it can happen with any sport. So yeah, I think we're anticipating the unknown, I guess is the best way of saying it, and just knowing that anything can happen with this. So it hopefully won't be too rocky of a road, but we're prepared for it.
What are some key dates here in the next couple of weeks that folks need to be focused on as far as returning to play?
I think the 2 biggest ones that jump out to me, the first one is the state of emergency order expires on August 29th. If we're still under that, you'll see the sliding scale progress with football and girls soccer, because those are the 2 defined contact sports. Girls soccer, the adjustments we made is we can push their schedule basically just 2 weeks. They don't have the requirements in their schedule. They've got more flexibility, can play multiple games in a week compared to football. We can back up their state championships 2 weeks, and I think they'll adjust and be okay. With football, once we get to August 3rd, August 4th, if we have not been given the green light, now the sliding scale comes into place. Step 1 will occur with that sliding scale in regards to, all right, now we're having to remove week 1 due to the time that the kids have to have in pads and practicing before they can have a contest. Now we're removing week 1. There's very few region games that week. We know how to adjust them. It's on the stuff on our website. It's a handful, 5, 6 of them. And then boom, week 1's gone. Let's move on. We're going to start the season with week 2. You wait another week. Now we get to August 10th, 11th. We got to make another adjustment. So once we get to August 3rd and 4th, you're going to start seeing everything kind of fall into place. Hopefully we don't get there and have to make any adjustments, but the roadmap per se is out there for everybody to see once we do get to that point.
All right, to give folks the web address again where they can go and exactly where they need to look on the TSSAA website.
Sure, it's pretty simple. It's TSSAA.org, and it's right at the top. It just says COVID-19 return to play. Click on there. There's a lot of documents, a lot of information. Spend some time going through them. I think it'd be beneficial to fans, parents of student athletes, anybody who has a lot of questions. They may read them and have more questions, but that's fine. So reach out to us. We'll try to help them as best we can.
Well, I know you guys have put a lot of work into this and a lot of thought, and want to wish everybody at the state office and every high school from Mountain City to Memphis, we want to wish them all the very best as the upcoming season, we hope, gets underway right on time. But thanks for your time today and helping kind of break this complicated thing down a little bit to layman's terms where folks will understand it a little bit better.
No, thanks for having me, and thanks for giving us the opportunity to do that. Is try to make it as simple as we can. We know it's confusing, but yeah, hopefully we'll be on the field and the court before long.
All right, high school sports has been our topic today, and Matt Gillespie of the TSSAA office. And of course, when we start talking about that or just about anything on this show, it ends up going over time. But folks, coming up on another weekend, take care of yourself, be nice to each other, and we'll have another episode of this coming up for you very, very soon. Have a great weekend.